Welcome, guys, to another episode of the WealthWise Show. I'm your host, the Wise Investor, and today we're going to embark on a WealthWise journey with financials. We're going to be talking about many different financial topics in this show. This is a new year, 2024, and thank you for joining me. So, a couple of housekeeping things out the way. This podcast and my opinions are just that, my opinions. They don't reflect the opinions of Simplicity Wealth or reflect the opinions for my clients, as I am a financial advisor. If you are a client, you don't have to change your portfolio based off of the things I say. This is strictly for educational purposes only. And these are my opinions, once again. And so understand, once again, this is educational purpose only. Please do not use this podcast as a personal financial advice tool. Please consult with your own personal financial advisor when you're making any financial decisions. So with that being said, let's get into today's episode of the WealthWise Show. Alrighty, so that was a great intro. It's 2024. I'm more likely gonna scrap. Well, you guys probably did. Maybe you did here. So I missed a week, the first week of January. I had the episode. I have like 6 episodes that's already been made. I already have them planned. Everything was ready to go. I just forgot to upload it. Sorry, been a busy week. But all the episodes I have planned for the next 6 weeks, I'm just gonna scrap them. There were high quality videos, like super high quality camera, everything. So right now I'm recording this on my Logitech webcam, 720p. So it's not going to be full 4K, 8K resolutions. And the reason being is because the 4K was too dense for my computer to process. I made a cool intro, music, all that good stuff. And, my computer couldn't process it. Every time I tried to upload it to YouTube and all that stuff, it just would bug out. I'm using Adobe Premiere. I'm on the PC, so I don't have access to Final Cut. But my PC is, probably 4 or 5 years old now, which still shouldn't be a problem because, it has some of the best graphics cards of its time. It has, really good RAM, really good CPU. So I don't know why I couldn't process it. So I'm probably going to be in the midst of upgrading my PC this year. Um, Videos. And so you guys are gonna be stuck with the 720. For the audio only listeners, you guys are fine. Who cares about people on YouTube? But if you are audio only listener, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll greatly appreciate that. Also follow us on Spotify, Instagram, follow us on, Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. I don't know. I'm not an Apple person, so I don't know what they have. So I'll greatly appreciate all those things. But that's enough of an intro. Hopefully you guys had a great year last year. I know I did. Last year was a bunch of great things happened for me. And one of those being me becoming a financial advisor. So, I got my securities license. Well, I passed the test in February. So it's been almost a year since I passed the test. But my state approved my license in May. So officially, May. And so hasn't been a full year. But the year of, well, the time that I have been professionally doing this, helping people out, especially those in my state with their financial planning, their goals, their retirement planning. It's been really, really joyous for me. Okay, that's if you don't know me personally. I know which I think 95% of my listeners know me personally. Then you know that that's one of my things that I like doing is helping people, especially when I have the knowledge and I it's readily accessible to give. So last year that was good on a financial standpoint. Trading was pretty good. You know, as some of you may know, some of you don't. Who knows? When you're listening to this, I also trade for me myself personally futures. That was great. I learned a lot when it comes down to the markets. This is my fourth year, I would say, or my fifth year actually. Well, going into my fifth year of actually being in the markets full time. So when I say full time, I mean like this is my job. Um, Giving advice professionally for the last, 9, 8 months or something like that. Um, and being in the markets though, on the retail side full time, going into my fifth year. So this year, hopefully I can learn a lot more. I'm on CNBC because the reason I'm doing this too, I'm recording this on a Monday. I'm actually going to change the schedule to record probably on a Thursday or Friday, depending on the news. Because I know last year I did not want to do weekly. I liked it, the recording a bunch of episodes and then putting them out periodically. And I still may do that, but in order for I feel like the content to stay fresh, um, and sometimes I do want to give my opinions on things, you know, then I might just do a fresh recording the week of. So Um, Apple Vision Pro headset launches in the US on. Okay. So I'm on CNBC. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the things. Last week, we had um non-farm payroll, and that went up. And for those of you who are, very new to the financial space, um, and you might be like, "Hey, man, I have no idea what you're talking about." I'm gonna explain it. So today, let's go talk about non-farm payroll and what is non-farm payroll, and why is it such an important indicator when it comes down to the economic health of the U.S. So, non-farm payroll reports are the changes in the number of employed people during the previous month, excluding the farming industry. So, hence the name non-farm employment payroll. So, the reason why that's important because that also indicate the unemployment rate. And so, if let's say for example, this month, the non-farm payroll was lower than the previous month, that means the number of employed people during that previous month change. People didn't get jobs, that previous month. People are actually, there's a downtrend in the number of jobs that people are getting month over month, letting you know what? That people are not hiring that much. And if people are slowing down hiring, then they're going to slow down on their growth is slowing down. And if the growth is slowing down, then so in some instances, you might have to cut because you're not making enough money to keep your current staff. So instead of hiring, you actually might stop hiring and then you go into cutting jobs. So those are important numbers to understand because last month was December. We're doing this Monday. I was about to say May, Monday, January 8th. And last month was a holiday. We had a holiday season the last couple of months of the year last year, which we do every year. So that is why the non-farm, I feel like personally, my personal opinion, is why I feel like the non-parm, the non-Parmesan cheese employees, they increased their payroll because Parm was at an all-time high, especially for Italians on Italian led holidays. I'm sorry, I didn't know where that went. But yes, non-farm payroll went up last month, and it came in almost 60 20, about 30,000 more than forecasted. Giving you the exact numbers, the forecast was 168,000 that they were expecting to be employed. But the actual number came in at 216,000 of actual people who got employed last month. So that's great for everyday workers. A lot of people got employment. Now, if I start to see that, hey, this month's non-farm payroll starts to go down, next month farm non-farm payroll starts to come down, that lets me know that, hey, that was for the holiday season. And it wasn't something that was sustainable. And the reason why that's important for the economy, at least, like I said, I already discussed that a little bit. But the Federal Reserve, also look at these numbers because they do want to control, the inflation. And that's one of the reasons why, they are, looking so hard at non-farm payroll, you know, CPI, which is this week's Friday. And I'm more likely, if I'm recording this on a Monday, I might record two episodes. This episode might be for last week. This episode might be for last week. And I might just go ahead and put it out. I might just go and put it out on a Monday. Why not? Hey, new year, new me. And then I'll probably record another episode Friday, but I just do it with my hand. I forget that I'm being recorded, so excuse the fact that I'm not looking directly at the camera. I have trouble with eye contact. And I'm also reading stuff on my computer. So I'm probably going to put this out today, and then probably Friday put out another episode since I missed Friday because I was neglectful. But back to what we were saying, the Federal Reserve do look at these numbers to determine the trajectory of, where the economy is heading. And right now, the feds are saying that the economy is heading in the great direction. And well, not the best direction, or I wouldn't say great, probably a better direction than previously forecast, a couple of years ago. So it's good news. It's not the best news, but it is good news. And they're more likely going to see this report for December, and hopefully, they understand that hey, it was a seasonality. Between shopping, between buying, between selling, and all this other stuff. Since it's the holidays, of course, people will have to hire more for the holidays. So that bump in the non-farm payroll should be looked at as a one-off instead of a trend. Now, if that continues to go into this month and next month and then March, then you'll start seeing, hey, then the growth is coming back. It starts to trend up. But it doesn't make any sense because they haven't cut any rates. And for businesses to just automatically assume, one, that they're going to do rate cuts. Yes, they did say it, but it hasn't happened. I'm always going to be in the camp of if it hasn't happened, I'm not, I'm not going to set it in stone. I'm always going to be fluid. And because if I set it in stone and I say, hey, these rate cuts are going to happen this year, then if they don't happen, now I have to change everything. And I've already on the hook for things that I've done because I set it in stone. And so if I'm a business, you know, I'm not going to start ramping up production. I'm not going to start hiring people left and right, So I don't see this as a pattern, just more like a one-off scenario, which makes sense. Um, and that's one of the key things that we want to utilize this year is, does that make sense? And not go off of, our own personal feelings, but go off of the data and the facts. This month or this week's, um, oh, this week's, sorry, I was looking at the 10-year bond auction coming up. We might get some 4.3% 10-year treasury bonds, which was nice. But that's not what I get distracted easily. I'm sorry. But Thursday, since we are going to have CPI, um, then that's going to help me to also understand the trajectory. I'm looking at the month over month, not year over year. And so whenever I talk about CPI, I'm always going to talk about the month over month, because that's like, really, you're really looking at the most recent almost. So it's not going to be the most recent because it's a month late. Yeah, you guys hopefully understand what I'm trying to say. Not a month late, but it was a month ago when all that stuff happened. And so point is, um, looking at the CPI for Thursday, month over month, combined with last month's um last month's increase in jobs, then I wouldn't be surprised if the CPI number comes in tap it higher. And when I say tap it higher, I don't mean like 4%. I mean maybe like 3.3 or maybe 3.1 or 3.2. So I can definitely see it being, anywhere in the low threes. Um, and that's because, we did have an uptick in purchasing last month. So, of course, that would make sense. So if I see that the CPI number comes in at 3.2 or 3.1 or 3.3, or even 3.4, I'm not going to be like, oh my goodness, the Feds, they're going to have to raise rates again. Well, no, because last month was, expected, to have a little bit increase. So that's my framework for this year is using my common sense and trying to understand exactly, hey, what is the point of this number? And I'm not trying to think for the Fed. I'm not trying to say, hey, with this number, what is the Fed going to think when they see this number? No, I'm going to use my own common sense. Hey, last month was this month this, and I do that not just because this is my currently job telling you the folks on this information, but also because I'm also a financial advisor. So if I'm going to give advice to my clients, I have to use common sense and not just go off of my feelings, but actual reports, actual data, actual facts. Because if you don't go off of facts and you give someone advice and it's not factual, based in factual data or anything like that, then are you really doing a good job? So and I had to learn that way early on in my career of what I'm doing now, not the professional part, but just in general being in the markets. So hopefully this episode makes sense. I know it's a interesting one. You know, Terrible Twos. This is my second season, going into my second year. Actually, no, I lied. I just haven't been a whole year since I started this. This is episode 36, I think. So it hasn't been 52 weeks. Minus one. So hopefully this year, and we finish out the rest of this first year of the WealthWise Show strong. I'm gonna keep doing more videos like this. I'm gonna get better. I know today I haven't been the best at explaining things. I know some of you are gonna walk away thinking, what does that even mean? What is that? I don't understand what he just said. So I'm gonna help you out. So it's because I can't hear your response. You can put it down in the comments to ask me to explain X, Y, and Z. And maybe once an episode, I will have a 5 minute, 10-minute segment where I just answer those questions and give you those answers. Or you can find those answers, on your own, which is fine too. Where you can look up investopedia.com. They're not a sponsor. I would like them to be. I met Caleb, last year at Future Proof. Great guy. So if I'm not sure if they do sponsors. I don't know what they do besides give out financial information. Like I said, I'm new to this podcast space, so I don't know how sponsorships work. I don't know how none of that stuff works. But point is, they're not a sponsor. They're not endorsed. I don't even know him personally. I just say, "Hey, nice to meet you," and I said something dumb, and he's like, "Oh," and then the conversation kind of fizzled out. But go to Investopedia. And if you heard a word that I've said or a phrase, just type it in Investopedia and it'll come up with the definition. Um, today's for last week. I know today's episode is coming out for last week, Friday. Go ahead. And if you really want to be serious about understanding how the economy works, understanding how your money works, understanding how your job security works, understand the non-farm payroll reports. Understand, if you want to know about your hourly earnings, those reports, those all come out once a month, typically in the beginning of the month, the first week of the month, actually. And go ahead and look up the employment rate, understand what that means. But the most important form that you really want to, study, and I'm trying to keep making eye contact. The most important report that you really want to learn is the non-farm payroll. That's going to be one because that's going to help directly understand, one, how the economy is working. Because if you start noticing that the non-farm payroll is going down and, is not making no strides to go up, then that lets you know jobs are going lower and growth is going lower. And then the reason why that's important because that means if you're in a certain industry that's non-farm, you know, you can see what's happening with the economy before, your everyday folks would, and then you can, adjust accordingly your financial plan. So non-farm payroll. Then the following week is CPI. CPI is important because that's, the inflation report essentially. CPI is in change of price in goods and services purchased by consumers. So if you hear inflation, that word inflation, CPI is good to understand because now hey, prices should be coming down, our prices are going up, and this may affect me in the future when it comes down to buying cars, buying homes, even using credit cards and things like that. And I know I said 3.2, 3.1 for the CPI for Thursday, and I was using the year over year percentages. And I know I said, I'm going to be using the month over month. So my apologies. But yeah, 0.1, 0.2, or 0.3. That's fine. Well, really, I'm looking at 0.2 and 0.3. Maybe 0.4, but I'm really looking at 0.2 and 0.3. Leaning in the camp of 0.3. So that's just the reports. Yeah, look at the CPI, look at non-farm payroll, research those on investopedia.com, go on CNBC to see what, Chairman Powell said. Chairman Powell is the person who is the chair, that's his title, chairman. He's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So go and do your research on those things. Of course, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything I say. You could just be listening to this for fun. Hey, you could just be listening to this while, for your dog so they can have something to listen to while you're at the house. Hey there, Charlie. Hopefully you're not tearing up that couch that your parents just bought you. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, pretty much. So that's gonna be it, guys. I'm rambling, and I got actual work to do because it's 9:30. Market's just open, and my Wi-Fi alarm is going off. So that being said, guys, I appreciate the listens, and until next time, stay WealthWise.